Case study 7.2 carries us from electrochemistry, where we're studying batteries and fuel cells and so on, right into the heart of an organism. And what's remarkable is that the electrochemical reactions are what sustain all of life on Earth. And in particular, there's a conversion of adenosine triphosphate, ATP, to ADP, which is the same structure except it has 2 phosphate groups instead of 3. So let's see how this works within the cell of an organism. So adenosine triphosphate reacts with water, a hydrolysis reaction, to form ADP and the phosphate group and 1 proton. So when we look at the structure of what's going on, we have 3 phosphate groups in ATP, we have 2 phosphate groups in ADP, but it's the release of free energy in that reaction that drives the ability of organisms to electrochemically extract energy from that reaction, but it's coupled to a very important companion reaction. That's glucose and phosphate that forms glucose phosphate. So the ATP to ADP reaction gives us 30.5 kilojoules of free energy per mole of reactants. The glucose phosphate reaction requires 13.8 kilojoules, but when we couple those two together, which is done in every organism, we have a free energy release of about 16.7 kilojoules. Now, when you look at the combustion of gasoline, for example, we talk about 10,000 kilojoules per reaction. So this delta G looks very small, but it's very, very important because it's adequate to supply the required energy for an organism. And it's also true of organisms that they use thermodynamic reactions that are quite small in their energy release, because when it's a small energy release, it's more easily controlled. So this 16.7 kilojoules looks very small in comparison with other reactions, but it turns out it's adequate to supply the energy required to sustain all of life. One other aspect of this reaction that's so interesting is that it's a catalytic reaction, and the enzyme that's involved here mediates the particular structure of the glucose ATP interaction, so that it contains and controls that configuration, generating a pathway of much lower barrier height to the formation of ADP and the release of energy that sustains the organism. So this is a very important example of the way enzymes, that is biological catalysts, act to execute the conversion of ATP to ADP, releasing the energy to sustain the organism.